From its establishment in 1926 until it was decommissioned in 1985, Route 66 served as the main street of America for nearly 60 years. The route led countless Americans west in search of new opportunities and adventures, revitalizing small towns and capturing the imaginations of a newly mobilized populace. More than 30 years later, Route 66 still reminds people of a time when finding hope, change, and freedom was as simple as getting in your car and hitting the road.
Hey, Josh.
Hi, John.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Good to see you.
Yeah, the same here. I'm glad you're here.
Beautiful building. Tell me about it.
So the powerhouse was built between 1907 and 1909 to generate electricity for the area mines. It was a lot cheaper to generate electricity and send it up than it was to bring fuel in to run everything. This was the first steel reinforced concrete structure in the state of Arizona. It was a big deal, and it was followed by newspapers all around the West.
And how long has it been a museum?
So the museum opened in February of 2001, so we're getting on 18 years pretty close here, and it's welcomed visitors from all 50 states and 70 countries around the world.
The powerhouse sat unused for nearly 6 decades, its contributions being overshadowed by the completion of Nevada's own Hoover Dam. But in 1987, the historic Route 66 Association of Arizona gave the site a new purpose, housing the relics of Americana.
Is it fair to say that Route 66 is the most iconic, famous road in all of America?
It absolutely is. In fact, the development of Route 66 is very much a reflection of the development of these United States.
Yeah, that you just said it right there. Now, take me through the development of Route 66.
Yeah, well, you know, and that's what's the beauty about the Arizona Route 66 Museum. It is that chronological history of this path. And it starts as the migration and trade routes of the native peoples, basically going spring to spring, following the lay of the land, getting across the country, no matter what season it is. And in the beginning, that's all it was. You know?
It literally was a path.
It just was, a path used by the peoples that had inhabited this area for centuries.
And then what happened?
Around 1900, there aren't a lot of automobiles out there. Maybe about, I think, 8,000 or so are registered in the United States, next to none. But there's this movement going on for good roads. By 1910, you have 500,000 automobiles on the road. Actually, that's about the first time they showed up out here in Kingman, Arizona. And more people are using the automobile. People start seeing the economic advantages of having the roads and the highways going through their town. So the National Trails Highway gets formed, people start coming out. By World War I, our industrial sector is to the max. You know, these highways are really starting to build up. America hits the world stage as an economic power and industrial power, and people come back in. Automobile production is really on the rise. By 1920, you have 8 million automobiles. I mean, think about it. In that 10-year stretch, you go from 500,000 to 8 million cars on the road. They need good roads. And so people start realizing after that war, we need better ability to move supplies, move troops across the country, and they start looking for a way to build better roads.
It was a transportation revolution, and I bet you there's a story behind the name.
After World War I, a commission was put up to develop the highways. And so they said, yeah, we're gonna have the odd-numbered highways going north and south, just like we do today, and even highways going east and west, with the major ones ending in 0. So Highway 10, 20, 30, 40. Well, this gentleman named Cyrus Avery out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he sees the need for having a good highway between Chicago and LA. There's great infrastructure between Chicago and New York, but nothing going out west. He says, if we can have this highway put in, we're gonna have a good major trucking route. It's gonna connect the country together. He wants to name it Highway 60. The 60's already taken. So he's left with 64, 66, or 68. And he's thinking about it, and he says, you know what, 66 has a good ring to it.
You know, it's so iconic, and it just came down to 60 was taken.
The creation of Route 66 was in tandem with America's love affair with the car. By 1927, just after the road was founded, the U.S. had over 22 million cars, just over 80% of the world's total automobiles. Many people were driving towards a new life, and they needed a way to get where they were going.
So when they were traveling across the country, these migrants, it was a lot like this.
It was a lot like this. When the Great Depression hit, when the Dust Bowl hit, and you had tens of thousands of people migrating west on that route, looking for a better way of life. And that's what's talked about in the Grapes of Wrath. John Steinbeck actually coins the term, the the mother road in the Grapes of Wrath.
Boy, listening to you talk, it becomes very clear that you cannot learn or understand American history without understanding the development of this road. It goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
It really does.
And the story doesn't stop here.
No, it doesn't. So yeah, after people are going out west on this road, we get into another World War.
During the Depression and World War II, Route 66 was a means of escaping hard times for many Americans. But as the baby boom era brought better days, the highway became synonymous with exploration, freedom, and fun.
All these boys that went and served in World War II, they hadn't really gone far from the farm. So they've served across the world, they've trained across the country, they come back and they really have the itch to travel. They want to take the family and go see the national parks and, go see the Golden Coast. And 1946, Bobby Troups, Route 66, Nat King Cole, that's released. It really captures the mood of the nations. We have better industry and we're building more cars and just everything's ripe for Route 66.
Boy, no kidding. It just kind of blossomed right in that spot. And you talked about the cars. We got one here. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so this is a 1952 Studebaker. I think this retailed for around $1,500 back in the day.
I'll take two.
Yeah, and it's just the muscle car. It's the sheer power that they were building with cars back then. People were hungry for it.
Yeah, and then you have a display here that also caught my eye. Burma Shave?
Burma Shaves. Yeah, so there was a fledgling little shaving cream company that was struggling to get enough customers, and they came up with the idea of putting little ditties out there, the little poems. They put along the road, you put one, then a quarter mile later you put another one, and the kids just loved them. There's a lot of people that come into the museum, they see the signs there, and they say, oh yeah, I remember seeing that as a kid.
New generations may not be able to experience the golden age of Route 66, but it remains embedded in American pop culture and in our traveler spirit. With the help of many dedicated curators, it will never be forgotten.
Transportation revolutions come and go, but you can bet that Route 66 will always be a main artery into the heart of American history.